And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza.
And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to the intersection of business and politics right here on Robert Cardoza Live. Well, on today's show, we're going to discuss what's in the news, new legislation the IRS loses, and I'm going to answer your emails just like I always do. On today's special segment, well, it's going to be Sean LaFave and me, and we're going to be solving the world's problems and talking healthcare. But right now, I want you to stand by for news. But before we do that, I want you to know that at 3:31 in the afternoon, it's currently 61 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Now, we're going to give you an encapsulated dish of the news. We're going to just abbreviate it so we can get a lot of things done here. And then what we'll do is we'll try and do a little bit more in depth right after we do that. We just want to give you as much as we can before we get going. And, these are the 10 things that you need to know for Tuesday, your daily look at late-breaking news, upcoming events, and the stories that will be talked about all day today, Tuesday, and tomorrow, Wednesday. First off, the abduction of 3 Americans raises Baghdad security fears. The kidnapping comes at a time of deteriorating security in and around the Iraqi capital after months of relative calm. And then, with sanctions gone, Iran plans more oil exports. Tehran intends to boost its crude output by 500,000 barrels a day. You heard me right, 500,000 barrels a day, which could drive oil prices down farther amid a global glut. You know what? I went and got gas today, and it was amazing. I think I paid about $2.95 a gallon. I got a message from a good friend of mine in New Mexico, paid $1.68 a gallon. Go figure. It's got to be something to do with California, right? How about this? Excuse me. What's GOP's top question as Iowa caucuses near? Well, does Donald Trump merely have fans? Or does the Republican frontrunner have voters who will mobilize and come caucus day? Time will tell. And rock rebel Glenn Frey, the Eagles co-founder, dies at age 67. Frey, who along with Don Henley became one of history's most successful songwriting teams, with such hits as Hotel California and Life in the Fast Lane, dies after battling multiple ailments. And who embraces Obama as primary fight slog song? Well, I can tell you, Hillary Clinton is aligning herself with the current president and his policies in hopes of shoring up support from African-American voters. And where concerns rise over injection wells quakes, 88 earthquakes of 2.7 magnitude or stronger have hit Oklahoma this month, and experts point to wastewater injection wells from oil and gas drilling as the cause. And how oceans provide further climate change evidence. The amount of man-made heat energy absorbed by the seas has doubled since 1997. That's a new study that shows that. And Flint mayor appeals to Washington over contaminated water. The Michigan mayor is asking for a federal disaster declaration as a lead-tainted drinking water crisis continues. And Spike Lee leads calls for an Oscar boycott. The director and actor Jada Pinkett Smith decry the absence of people of color in films nominated for Academy Awards. And then finally, it's time to name a suspected match fixtures, Federer says. The number 3 ranked tennis star responds to reports by BBC and BuzzFeed News that tennis authorities have suppressed evidence of match fixing in the sport. You know what? Go figure. Who the heck, does this stuff? I don't know. But there's plenty of news, and most of it's bad. That's the sad part. Most of it is bad. Now, let's talk about a little more in depth. How about this? Champagne flowed when released Americans finally left Iran. Pale but smiling, former U.S. Marine Emir Hakmati recounted today how disbelief turned to joy when he and 3 fellow Americans realized they were being released as part of a deal with with Iran and reunited with their families after spending years in Iranian prison. Speaking publicly for the first time since being allowed to leave Iran in a prisoner swap Sunday, Hekmati said the sudden end to his 4-year ordeal still seemed surreal. Convicted by an Iranian court of spying and sentenced to death in 2012, he was later given a 10-year sentence on a lesser charge after a retrial. I was at a point where I had just sort of accepted the fact that I was going to be spending 10 years in prison, so this was a surprise, and I just feel truly blessed to see my government do so much for me and the other Americans. Hekmati told reporters outside the U.S. military's Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany, where he was taken for treatment. You know what? These guys sentenced to 10 years and they didn't even do anything. Go figure, right? How about this? Election year clash on immigration heads to the Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court stepped into a boiling political dispute over immigration today, setting up a likely decision in the middle of a presidential campaign marked by harsh rhetoric about immigrants. The justices agreed to review whether President Barack Obama, acting without congressional approval, has the power to shield from deportation up to 5 million immigrants living in the United States illegally and make them eligible to work without fear of being rounded up. Underscoring the political dimension, the case will be argued in April and decided by late June, about a month before both political parties gather for their nominating conventions. If Obama prevails against opponents led by Republican governors, there would be roughly 7 months left in his presidency to implement plans that would affect the parents of U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents, as well as some people who arrived in the United States before they turned 16. We are confident that the policies will be upheld as lawful, White House spokeswoman Brandy Hoffine said after the court's announcement Tuesday. Yeah, I guess you could say I've got mixed emotions about it. I don't want to get into a big up-to-do about it. I don't know how good it is. You got to give it some real thought, I guess. Oh, here's the latest from Sweden. Morocco deal on rejected asylum minors. The latest news on the influx of asylum seekers and other migrants in Europe. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Sweden says it has reached a deal with Morocco on returning unaccompanied minors who don't qualify for asylum and often end up living on the streets. Swedish officials say there are hundreds of homeless Moroccan boys in Stockholm and other cities who often get mixed up in crime and drugs. The Swedes have long urged Morocco to take them back. Now, today, the government said it's reached a deal with the North American country. The Swedish Justice Ministry said a committee with officials from both countries would be set up to make it easier to identify the boys and send them back. The announcement comes 4 days after the Swedish government decided not to recognize a disputed territory in Western Sahara as an independent republic. Well, folks, don't go away, because when we come back, we've got more news for you. We're gonna talk about. I just lost my spot here. We're gonna talk about the UN report. Iraqi civilians are dying at a staggering rate. I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. So please don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this: the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And you know what? When we left, we were talking news. We're going to talk some more news. And we're talking about the UN report. Iraqi civilians are dying at a staggering rate. Iraq witnessed a sharp increase in civilian deaths following the fall of large swaths of territory to the Islamic State group in the summer of 2014. Now, despite a string of recent battlefield losses for IS civilians in Iraq, continue to die at a staggering rate, according to a new United Nations report. At least 18,802 civilians were killed and another 36,245 were wounded in Iraq between the start of 2014 and October 31st of last year. According to the UN report released today, in just one 6-month period between May and October last year, more than 10,000 civilians were killed. Despite their steady losses to pro-government forces, the scourge of ISIL continues to kill, maim, and displace Iraqi civilians in the thousands and to cause untold suffering. UN envoy Jan Kubis said in a statement using an alternative acronym for the extremist group. The numbers are nowhere near the death tolls recorded during Iraq's bloody civil war. In 2006 alone, more than 34,000 civilians were killed, according to the UN data. You know what? I don't know about you, but that just turns my stomach. Makes me ill. The latest gauge on China, the slowdown, brings relief. It wasn't worse. Yeah, not relief, but relief that it wasn't worse. The slowdown of China's once sizzling economy has fueled anxiety over its impact on the rest of the world. Yet, when Beijing reported today that its economy grew last year at the slowest pace in a quarter century, the reaction seemed to be mainly relief that it wasn't worse. Economists welcome details in the report suggesting that the world's second biggest economy is making some progress in a difficult and complex transition away from a reliance on manufacturing and investment in real estate and factories and toward dependence on services and consumer spending. Stocks rose today in Asia and Europe. By midday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up modestly. Things are okay, said Fadios Rapis, senior economist at TD Economics. There's not an outright collapse going on in China. Beijing reported that economic growth fell in 2015 for a fifth straight year to 6.9%, down from 7.3% in 2014, and the slowest rate since 1990. For the October-December quarter, growth inched down to 6.8%, the weakest quarterly expansion in 6 years. The declaration is at least partially deliberate as the ruling Communist Party aims to manage the economy's transition to a structure that will almost certainly deliver slower growth. Today's report contains signs of progress. Services businesses accounted for a record 50.5% of China's economic activity last year. For the first time, its share has exceeded 50%. Wow. You know what? You need to keep your eye on China, because from there you'll see things happen to the rest of the world. You know, the world economy, it's no longer just a United States economy. It's a world economy, and it's cyclical. And you can watch the economy react one piece of the world at a time. So, you know, we no longer have a delay in information because of technology. Everything is instant. So everybody is going to react to it. How about this? Cruz dons face paint in an appeal to hunters and gun owners. It's an image football fans in Iowa are likely to see this weekend. Ted Cruz, his face smeared with black grease paint, sitting in a Louisiana duck blind with a borrowed shotgun. His Republican presidential campaign said today it's spending $700,000 to air a gun-friendly ad during the NFL Conference Championship games. Cruz has made the defense of Second Amendment rights a cornerstone of his presidential campaign, touting his past legal work fighting against gun control laws. But records suggest the 45-year-old politician's passion for the issue emerged relatively recently in his life, coinciding with his ascent in Republican circles in Texas. Cruz was in Louisiana last week to film a campaign video with Phil Robertson, the gray-bearded patriarch of reality TV's Duck Dynasty clan. The junior senator from Texas, clad in camouflaged overalls, is shown squeezing off a couple of rounds toward the gray sky. It was not clear whether the candidate struck any ducks. You know, my guess is he probably couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Well, IS acknowledges the death of Jihadi John in a magazine. The Islamic State group has acknowledged the death of the masked militant known as Jihadi John, who appeared in several videos depicting the beheadings of Western hostages. The SITE intelligence group reported just today. SITE, which monitors terrorist activity, reported that IS published a eulogizing profile of Jihadi John in its English-language magazine Dabiq today. Jihadi John had been identified by the U.S. military as Mohammed Imwazi, a Kuwaiti-born British citizen. His harshness towards the Kufar, or disbelievers, was manifested through deeds that enraged all the nations, religious and factions of Kufar, I should say. The entire world bearing witness to this, the Dabiq article said, according to a translation provided by SITE. Army Colonel Steve Warren, a U.S. military spokesman, said in November that the Army was reasonably certain that a drone strike in Syria had killed Imwazi, who spoke in beheading videos with a British accent as he wielded a knife. You know what? I'm not going to miss him. How about you? I would think not, right? Well, let's talk about the Michigan governor is expected to devote a speech to water crisis. Boy, it's long overdue. Only a year ago, Rick Snyder began his second term as Michigan governor, promoting some achievements that had propelled him to victory in 2014. The state was at least in the midst of an economic comeback, and Detroit had emerged from bankruptcy. Now, the water crisis gripping Flint threatens to overshadow nearly everything Snyder has accomplished, and the governor's annual State of the State address has become perhaps the most important speech of his career. The Republican has little choice but to devote much of today's address to the emergency which has put Flint families at risk for lead exposure and engulfed his administration with criticism from across the nation. Right now, it's everything Lansing-based Republican consultant Tom Shields said of the Flint disaster. People will forget about what he did to bring Detroit out of bankruptcy and change taxes and everything else if the Flint situation is not handled correctly. Now, do not go away. When we come back, we're going to talk about the IRS losers. The first case is one spouse can contest the other's innocence even after death. And I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Please, don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Oh yeah, here we are, my favorite part of the show, the IRS loses. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it. This will send the hair up on the back of your neck, in on your spine. Here's the first one. One spouse can contest the other's innocence even after death. The IRS assessed tax on a joint return filed by a couple who had since divorced. The wife said that she was an innocent spouse and that the tax bill was due entirely to her husband, so he alone should be liable for it. The IRS, as required by law, sought to inform the husband to enable him to intervene to defend his interest in the innocent spouse proceeding, but he had died. So here's the question. Did the right to intervene die with the husband, or did it pass to his estate and heirs? Well, here's what the tax court said. Since the husband's survivors may be harmed by the wife's claim, the right to intervene passes to them. The IRS must make an effort to find and notify each and every one of them. Well, here's another case that the IRS lost. A position that was initially reasonable became unreasonable. A woman defeated the IRS in court and asked the court to order the IRS to pay her legal fees. The IRS answered that his position had been reasonable in the case, so it shouldn't owe the fees. This is what the judge said. The IRS's position in the case originally actually was reasonable, but after new facts were developed in court, the IRS's central office that specializes in this kind of dispute advised the IRS's litigators to concede. Instead, they continued to pursue the case. At that point, the IRS's position became unreasonable. Therefore, the woman is entitled to have it pay the legal fees that she incurred after that point. It makes sense to me. It's just a matter of fact, it not only makes sense to me, it makes common sense to me. Here's another case. The IRS loses. Late receipt of a tax notice gives extra chance to an appeal. Here's the case. The IRS sent a deficiency notice to a couple giving them 90 days to go to the tax court to fight a tax bill. But they had moved and received the notice only 12 days before the deadline. When they didn't file in court, the IRS acted to collect the tax. The couple then asked for a collection due process hearing to argue against the tax bill on the merits. But the IRS said that they had lost the right to fight the tax when they didn't go to court, and they should be allowed to discuss only how to pay the IRS at the hearing. This is what the judge said. 12 days is not enough time to file a case in court, so the IRS must listen to and consider the merits of the couple's case at the hearing. Well, just makes sense to me, doesn't it to you? Absolutely. The IRS just tries to get away with this stuff, but they shouldn't be allowed to do it. Well, you've heard me talk about being a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing things. That's where we're at right now when we talk about inside the IRS. It's just a little bit like the Twilight Zone out there. I'll tell you all about it right now. Yeah, you know what? You've heard me talk about these issues. These are not tax court cases, but they are precedents that were set by the IRS, and you can actually use them in your defense as long as you use them properly. But here's the first one. Did you know that there's a refund opportunity out there? There's an amended return opportunity to get a refund of tax paid on awards for damages for personal non-physical injuries. A recent decision in the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit actually held that damages received for emotional distress and injury to personal reputation are not subject to income tax, and that Section 104A-2 of the tax code, which makes these damages taxable, is unconstitutional. Money damages received for loss of earnings or punitive damages are still taxable, so you got to be careful. The IRS is expected to appeal this case, but amended tax returns should be filed to protect your right to receive a refund just to be safe. Now, how about this? Private collection agencies. You know what? Now that the IRS has outsourced a portion of its collection work, a private debt collector may contact you. Now, they have some limits. These collection agencies can only negotiate. Hang on a second. That's our buddy Sean Lefebvre calling in. Anyway, these collection agencies only have the ability to negotiate installment payment agreements of up to $25,000 and out 36 months. Now, here's the good news. A private collection agency cannot issue a summons for financial information and cannot make third-party contacts with your bank, employer, or your neighbors, for example. Now, here's a strategy for you. You may have an easier time getting an agreeable or installment plan with a private collection agency since they're paid a commission on anything they collect, whereas the typical IRS collection employee has no financial incentive to let you pay off your liability over time. So take note here. If you can't or won't accept an agreement with a private agency, your case gets sent back to the IRS, which then will pursue the collection in a normal manner. So you may not want that to happen. So you be careful. Now, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to be with our own Sean Lefebvre. We're going to cure the ills of the world and whatever else is on Sean's mind. We'll be right back after these brief messages. So don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean Lefebvre, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
Hey, Sean, welcome aboard. Good to have you here. It must be Tuesday. It's Sean Day, right?
It is Tuesday. That's right. I think someone owes me for a hamburger. I'm not sure about that one.
Somebody owes you for a hamburger?
Yeah, it's Tuesday. Somebody got to pay me for a hamburger today.
Well, you know what? I think that you ought to have a juicy hamburger with sautéed onions or caramelized onions, some tomatoes, some lettuce, maybe even some pickles in there. Maybe not Jack's secret sauce, but Bob's secret sauce, and some really nice crispy French fries on the side, and a double chocolate.
Are you actually intentionally trying to give me the hang up on you and go eat lunch? That's if you keep going, that's what's going to happen. I actually didn't have lunch today, so now I was not really that hungry 30 seconds ago. But now,
but there's no place other than my house that serves that. It's going to take you an hour to get here anyway.
Well, okay, then I guess I better start driving now.
Hey, buddy, what's on the agenda for today?
I want to talk about a few things, but I want to talk about this thing going on in Flint, Michigan, because it really does have to do with...
Oh, man, I got to tell you what. I don't understand why somebody doesn't take that governor out behind the barn and beat the living daylights out of him, and you just string him up.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, here's
Yes and no. They changed the water supply. They didn't check the new water supply to see if it was even safe for the residents. Then they find out they're getting lead poisoning and they're getting all this heavy metal stuff going on. The governor is stepping on his tongue for all this stuff. This is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of in my life. Now, go ahead and debate with me.
I'm not, trust me, there's no debate. I mean, so there needs to be a serious ass whooping coming down the pike for this, because this is wrong and it's horrible. But I will tell you that right now, this one event in our nation, which it's for those people, this is a major event. For the country, this is really just kind of one of those things that, is not a major for the country, but it is an eye-opener that we need to pay attention that these things happen. And that we really need to understand that, just because our government says something, local, state, federal, but the EPA has known about this for almost a year now. This is not like they didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying?
But Sean, that just makes it worse. It doesn't make it better.
It does make it worse. And so for people, here's why I think everybody's after Governor Snyder right now, is because that's exactly what Hillary Clinton wants. And she politicized this in a massive way that just absolutely, I mean, as if the woman isn't already a two-faced lying, piece of dirt.
Okay. Listen, I'm not a Hillary lover either. But here's the fact. I don't care whether it was Hillary that made this thing come out or who it was. Truth is, it was Rachel Maddow on the Maddow Show, who the mayor of Flint, Michigan, actually got on that show and announced this whole thing. Rachel Maddow made it a national issue. It was never going to be a national issue. And she declared a city of emergency. She can't get the governor to do anything about it. It's not a Hillary Clinton issue. This is an issue where the people that were elected to protect the citizens are not doing their job. They're looking the other way.
They're not doing their job.
How could they possibly let people shift the source of water without testing it first? And you're telling me the EPA did test it. I think a lot of heads ought to roll. Not Hillary Clinton.
A lot of heads. Everyone responsible should be fired for this, including Governor Snyder.
Yes.
But you can't tell me that I can't even think of her name, the mayor. You can't tell me that she's innocent in all this. Yes, she did bring it to light, but how long has she known about it?
Well,
how long did she sit on her hands before she finally did something?
I don't know, but she was just recently elected. So, I mean, how long would it take her to be able to do something?
Okay, I don't think that part I didn't realize. When was she recently elected? That part I did not.
She's a brand new mayor.
Okay, so good on her then. Maybe then awesome. We good on her. What about the mayor? How come no one's talking about the mayor before her? Somebody in the city level had to know this was going on.
Yes.
And no one said anything. So it's not just the governor. Did he know for sure? He probably had an idea things were wrong. Did he know it was just bad? I don't know.
Well, but it's at some point when this mayor said my city residents, my city citizens are getting lead poisoning and heavy metal poisoning, and they're being exposed to this stuff. At some point, the governor should have looked up and said, hey, if they're not doing their job, it's my job to do something about this.
Yeah, and it was never, nobody on any level did it. And so I don't know why they're singling out the governor, because it's easy to single out the governor right now, especially, Hillary Clinton wants to make a big deal because he's a Republican. If he was a Democrat, I don't think she would be so hard on him. I mean, that's just politics. That's the truth. Doesn't matter.
I'll give you that. First of all,
she's also turning this into a race baiting issue, which is really annoying to me.
Yes.
It's like you're telling me that they did this just because it's black people. What about the mayor? I don't know who. I don't know who the previous mayor was now.
Well,
so
I mean,
why is nobody talking? That's it's.
I mean, give me a break. It can't be because it's a black issue. I mean, I think there is a proliferation of black people in the entire state of Michigan anyway. Detroit certainly has a proliferation of African Americans. Flint, Michigan has a proliferation of African Americans. But you know what?
Right.
It doesn't belong in that race. And I do detest the fact that anybody, and especially a Hillary Clinton, who uses every opportunity to try and get an edge on the race. I hate the politics of this. This is not a political thing. This is a humanitarian thing.
And that's the exact point that I wanted to make with this was all we've done is taking something that is harming an entire town, and God knows who else is being affected by this. This entire town of Flint, Michigan is being poisoned literally with a neurotoxin that will cause long-term neurological damage to these people.
Well, you know what? Now
all we're doing is a bunch of finger pointing instead of going, okay, first let's step back, let's fix the problem, and
Sean,
then let's worry about who needs to get fired. Yeah.
But Sean, let's enlighten people, because so far all they're talking about, you're talking neurotoxins. I think you're going to have to define what neurotoxins are. But the other thing is, the people, all we're hearing about, and there's very little that we're hearing about it until just recently when the national press has finally decided to pick it up, is that these people have been exposed to lead poisoning and stuff like that. You know what? I think it would be helpful if a man like you, a very knowledgeable man, were to explain what the effects of this exposure to the lead and lead poisoning would do to these people.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to talk about it, because I love talking about lead exposure and heavy metal exposure in general. But lead is so, it's. Sorry, I'm going to back up 1 second though. Remember last year when the EPA accidentally dumped millions and millions of gallons of toxic sludge filled with heavy metals into, it was one of the rivers up in southern Colorado.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And I didn't hear a whole lot of horrible backlash like we're hearing about Flint, Michigan. Yeah. Now, granted, yes, this was not intentional, but it was still like, this was a major catastrophe. I don't know. To me, that's just as bad as what's happening in Flint. To me, it's at least as bad.
Yes.
Because you're polluting an entire river system now that's going to, the fish people are going to eat it on and on. Anyway.
Well, what makes it bad is and now all of a sudden it's not the first time. Are we going to set a trend here where the government is going to ignore the safety and security of the populace?
And that's just it. They do ignore. And this is not a new thing. This is just something that is very localized and good job on that mayor. I didn't realize she was newly elected, so I actually kind of give her kudos now, because at first I was like, why is no one attacking her? But now I get it. But this is not stuff like this has happened historically for probably ever. And so that's really, the government not protecting its people. It happens. It's terrible. It's just crime, and people need to be fired. If the governor's not fired, if the EPA director's not fired, if the whoever the director is they said that's the Michigan Department of Water Quality or something. Yeah.
Hey, Sean, if this took place in any of the suburbs in China, you know what would happen? They wouldn't be arguing about should they do something. They'd find the person that was responsible, take him out behind a building, put a bullet behind his ear, and send his family the bill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what would happen. Yeah, we can't do that in this country. Sometimes I want to say unfortunately, sometimes I want to say fortunately, but we definitely need to send a clear message in this. But lead. The thing that people don't understand is lead. I talk to people about what I do for a living, and I say I'm a neurotoxicity specialist, and they go, well, what does that mean? I go, well, I help people remove neurotoxins from the body, and of course, what are neurotoxins? And a neurotoxin is any kind of toxin that affects the neurological system, and heavy metals are certainly on the top of that list. The worst of all of them is mercury, but lead is right there, a very solid second. Mm-hmm. And the problem with lead is lead has been so pervasive in our country, the world really, that everybody is toxic with lead, and so we've already got a toxic burden going on. You could test, you could test 100 people, and 95 of them are going to be lead toxic. That's just the way it is. But this massive exposure they got in Flint, I can't even imagine what's going on in these people's bodies. But lead it affects the neurological system. Matter of fact, there was a study that I read. It was published in the JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association, and they said that 17 micrograms of lead in your brain is enough. And then lead, by the way, will store itself in the brain. That's one of the places it stores itself. It really likes bone tissue as well, and it will store in fat tissue in general, but especially loves bones, and it will definitely get into the neurological system, into the brain. And they said 17 micrograms of lead in your brain is enough to decrease your IQ by 10 points. And now,
let me ask you another question, because I'm not sure. I'm going to make a statement, and I'm not sure that it's accurate. Isn't lead one of those heavy metals that when your body absorbs it, it never goes away? It stays there. It just increases its absorption.
Yeah, it depends on. There's a couple of factors, and one of them is they have we call our APOE gene type. And there's actually 4 of them, but there's only 3 main ones. The 4th one is pretty rare. So you're either an APOE 1, 2, or 3. And if you're a 1, your body's actually pretty efficient at getting rid of heavy metals. Those are the people that I probably never see, in a clinical setting. They're heavy metals toxic. And then there's APOE 2, and they're not as good, but they detox from heavy metals, but not as well. And then there's APOE 3, and those people with that genetic type, they tend to bind to heavy metals, and they store it in their body a lot more efficiently. And so those are the people that tend to have more health problems from heavy metals.
Okay, so hold that thought, because we've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, I'd like you to talk to me just a little bit, and then I'll let you get right back on track with what you were doing. But just talk to me a little bit about what the symptoms and what the downside of this heavy metal exposure is going to be for people. We're talking to our own Sean Lefebvre in the Geared for Wellness Corner. We'll be right back with Sean as he explains to us the effect of this lead exposure on these people in Flint, Michigan. Don't go away. We'll be right back, folks.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:49 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 61 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, you know what? If you live in New York City, it's 6:49 p.m. and 28 degrees, but it's clear. And now let's talk about the reaction that heavy metals and lead have on the human body. Our good buddy Sean LaFame is going to answer those questions for us. Hey, Sean, you got the microphone, buddy.
All right. So, there's just a myriad of symptoms, if you will, that heavy metals cause, and lead is definitely one of the prominent metals that you see. Lead and mercury are the two that we see the most in people. And the things that you'll get, actually, lead has been implicated for a long time in Alzheimer's disease. Certainly, it's a factor in a lot of neurological disorders, like even Parkinson's. You're talking Parkinson's is actually really strongly connected to like glyphosate and other pesticides. But there's some more
Sean, if they know that lead is one of the things that triggers Parkinson's, why can't they follow that to find out how to avoid the Parkinson's?
Well, I think there are those who are attempting to do that. There's a lot of us out there they're trying to teach people how to avoid lead and how to remove it from the body. Those are both things that are possible to do. I would say that actually removing it from the body is easier than avoiding it, because lead is everywhere. Uh-huh. And the more common stuff that you'll see, I just dropped a couple of big ones just because you get that in the mind that that this is something that could have really damaging long-term effects, not just short-term. This gets stuck, bound up in someone's bodies, and so you've got brain fog, you've got endocrine disruption. Lead is a very bad endocrine disruptor, meaning the endocrine system, meaning that it's where your body produces various hormones. Lead can cause skin issues. One of the things that kills me about lead, probably the one thing that I think is the worst, is lead, like I said in the beginning, deposits itself in the bones. It, for some reason, has an affinity for depositing itself in your bones. And when a woman is pregnant, and her body needs calcium, women tend to have a calcium deficiency when they're pregnant, but where it pulls the calcium from is from the bones. And so now it's pulling bone tissue that has lead built into it. It's using it to deposit it into the womb. Now it passes to the placenta. The placenta cannot protect from these heavy metals. And so now you got a baby who's born toxic with lead and probably other heavy metals as well. In fact, I was reading another article, this was years ago, and they said that if we could remove all external sources of exposure of lead from the entire world, so that you would never know no lead paint, no lead gas, and no lead anything, right? Nothing. That it would take 4 generations for us to get all the lead out of our bodies, because mom always passes lead on to the baby every time.
Okay, so before we get the lead out, because I've heard that term before, let me ask you a question, just based on what you were saying, and I'm just being inquisitive because I don't really know. But when you say that the lead usurps the calcium that's in the bones and makes the bones weak and brittle, that's the same thing as osteoporosis, is it not?
No, that's not wrong. You can have lead deposited in your bones and not have osteoporosis.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah.
The symptoms sounded the same, and I wasn't sure if that was.
Yeah, no, I was talking specifically about women when they're pregnant, and their body uses the bone that they've got as a source of calcium. Because when a woman's pregnant, the body's priority is the baby. It wants to take care of the baby, and so it'll actually rob from the mom to feed the baby. And if the body needs calcium for the baby, it takes it out of the mom's bones.
So the brain makes a decision. Hey, there's a priority here. Mom is priority 2, and baby's priority 1.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. I'm sorry I interrupted you. But sometimes
that's fine. That's fine. So there's a lot of things that go on with lead. Like I said, it disrupts hormones. People get like I said, brain fog. They have trouble remembering things. They maybe get a little bit more irritated. They might be more. Lead is known to cause depression. There's a lot of things associated with lead. I mean, there's a huge myriad of symptoms, and there's some some mental and emotional, some physical. And so really lead is just one of those things that it can be, they could mirror symptoms of something else, that you don't even, so you might be chasing the wrong thing. So I think when a person has chronic illness, I always recommend, testing for heavy metals. And these people in Flint, I mean, the state owes them, all of them testing and treatment for heavy metals.
Now, if they do have heavy metal poisoning, is there a treatment that'll give them relief in a reasonable amount of time, or are they destined for a lot of pain and challenges in their life?
Yeah, well, they are going to have challenges if it goes untreated. But the cool thing is lead is one of those things that you can actually pull from the body. It takes time. You use a chelating agent. There's a couple of them out there that are now available with prescription. One is DMPS. I used to use DMSA, and that is used to be available without a prescription. Now the FDA wants to regulate it more, so they took it out, so you can only get it through a medical doctor. DMSA is oral. You can take oral DMPS too, but mostly people do DMPS. They do IV drip, and it has benefits and downsides as well. There's other things. A lot of people will say you could use, chlorella, or you can use clay, or you can use cilantro, and those things are really you can't really predict how much they're going to pull, and sometimes they can actually make people worse by using things that aren't true, what they call a chelator. They don't actually truly bind, and they mainly just pull it out of the gut. And so, you want to get a good chelator like a DMPS or DMSA. There's another one out there now that's a liquid drop. It's is really, really good at pulling heavy metals.
Well, when you talk about pulling
detox,
when you talk about pulling those heavy metals, are you talking? But you're not just talking about from the gut. Those heavy metals, they deposit all over your body, right? Would they deposit in your brain and in your heart and in all these places?
Yeah, you've got to go in and you've got to go in and get it from the tissue, you actually got to get it out of the cell. So you've got to have something that goes into the body, not just, like a lot of people use, like I said, the chlorella and the clay and stuff, and they think, okay, you pull it straight from the gut. Well, the body's not always dumping, and that's the problem. It depends on your APOE gene type, like I talked about. Mm-hmm. And so for those people who bind to it, you have to use what they call a true chelator. And so chelate means to bind to something. And so there's these chelators that will bind to heavy metals. Mm-hmm. When we use DMSA, it works really well. It pulls it from the body really well, but what it doesn't get is the stuff that's in the brain, because DMSA can't pass the blood-brain barrier. And so after you clear out the body, for the most part, you start giving a person alpha lipoic acid. Alpha lipoic acid, it will go into the brain. It'll pull out the heavy metals, but it's not a very good chelator, so it'll drop the heavy metals on its way moving around. And then the DMSA will go in and grab what the alpha lipoic acid dropped.
Okay, so let's hold that thought, because we're these first two segments are kind of short segments. We've got to go for a commercial break. We're going to be right back with our own Sean Lefebvre, and we're going to be talking about what, Sean?
Oh, we'll keep talking about this heavy metals and what it does to your body and how you get it out. Absolutely.
All right. Sounds great. We're talking to our own Sean Lefebvre in the Geared for Wellness Corner. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Do not go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're talking to our own Sean Lefebvre in his Geared for Wellness Corner. And boy, you know, what a fascinating subject, Sean. I'm glad you brought it up. Time is just flying by for me. We're talking about the lead and heavy metal exposure that these folks in Flint, Michigan are getting. And now we're talking about the horrible effects that it has on the body and what you can do about it. Sean, you've got the microphone.
All right. So, yeah, you know, it's, I want to back up a little second. I'm going to go back into removing it from the body. Mm-hmm. You know, the question that I got a lot, you know, when I would tell people, oh, you've got heavy metals, you've got lead, or you've got mercury or whatever, I would constantly get the question, well, where would I get it from? You know, and I think that most people really walk around just without any realization at all of how much exposure they get on a daily basis, you know, and it's just because it's everywhere. It's in the air, it's in the dirt, it's in the water, especially in Flint, Michigan, you know. And I mean, think about it. This is just one city, one town. I shouldn't say city, it's a town. This is just one town. And, you know, imagine how many other towns are out there that maybe have water lead levels that aren't quite as high, but people are still getting, you know, small amounts. By the way, the levels in Flint, Michigan, they weren't just slightly elevated. The parts per billion, I think the reference point is 15 parts per billion for the EPA. They say that really there's no safe level at all, that anything 5 parts per billion and above is really of concern, but there's really no safe level at all. Lead is just not one of those things that you can't just say a little bit is okay. There's a little bit is still bad for you.
So, Sean, why doesn't the EPA don't they have any authority to jump all over this stuff themselves? Are they not an independent agency?
You know, and that's the funny thing. The EPA knew about this back in the spring of last year, and they apparently were uncertain what their authority was over this situation, and so they had an inquiry made, a legal inquiry made that literally took, I think it was back in April that they made the inquiry, and they didn't get a response back on legally what they were allowed to do until October. And so, you know, I would assume that this is, you know, the EPA should have that kind of authority. You think they should go on, okay, look, mayor, governor, you know, the Michigan environmental quality, or I can't think what it's called. There's something Michigan environmental quality system that they got out there, part of the government that, they're responsible for this too. You think that they would just be able to go, you need to fix this now. But apparently they were unable to get that done, and it took. And I didn't realize that this mayor, again, like you said, was the one that was really, the whistleblower on this, if you want to call her that. But so I think it's awesome. Somebody needed to make it happen, because this water. Like I said, 15 parts per billion is kind of the reference point. You really don't want to get above that. Anything even as low as 5 parts per billion is of concern. But their lead levels were in the thousands of parts per billion in that water, and the highest reading that they got was 13,000 parts per billion at one point.
So, can this kill you?
Lead poisoning, if you get enough, it can kill you. But I think it would take a lot. Yeah, it would take a lot. You would have to actually. I don't even know how you could get enough lead in you. I know one person who almost died from mercury vapor exposure. They were using, because mercury it's easy to vaporize mercury. Lead, if the lead's hot enough to vaporize it, you're probably not going to get anywhere near it. You're not going to get close to it at all because it's going to be so hot. But I do know someone who was in a room. They were doing something. I can't remember what the room was used for. But he walked into a room, door closed behind him, which was normal for this. But what he didn't realize was the room was active, and they actually had mercury vapors in this room. He was in there, and he breathed in the mercury vapors and passed out from it. And fortunately, someone discovered him, pulled him out, but it almost killed him. I mean, he had health problems he still has to this day. He still has health problems from it.
So
he had
mercury, health problems. So a lot of these heavy metal vapors are odorless.
I imagine mercury is some metal. I don't know that it smells like anything. I remember as a kid playing with mercury. Your mom freaks out because you broke the thermometer or whatever. But no, we all have. I shouldn't say we all. I don't anymore. But there's. I think the estimates are 100 million Americans have mercury in their mouth. We've got it in our amalgam fillings. And in fact, right now the American Dental Association is actually starting to come under attack for it, because they're going, this stuff is not safe. It's making people sick. It's making kids sick. It's making babies sick. While the mom is pregnant, she's got this stuff in her mouth. And I mean, studies have proven it. That they've shown without a doubt that this stuff off gases in your mouth. You breathe in the vapors. And they try to tell you that it's inorganic. I know we've had this discussion before too on the show, but your body can take the same bacteria that converts organic inorganic or elemental mercury into organic mercury or methyl mercury. Into methyl mercury. Those bacteria that you find in the ocean that gets in the fish, those bacteria exist in your gut as well. And so your body always dumps toxins into the gut, and all of a sudden you got this microbiome that can convert elemental mercury into methyl mercury right in your body, and now it becomes even more damaging than it was before. And don't let anyone fool you. Just because it's elemental mercury doesn't mean that it's not damaging. It can still eat away at nerve tissue. But so there's we've got all this exposure to this lead, and we've got mercury. We used to cook in aluminum, and we know that aluminum has also been implicated in Alzheimer's and other neurological disorders. And the nickel is very toxic, and they've used it nickel plated for crowns, and they put it on jewelry and all kinds of stuff, and so we've got all these heavy metals around us. In fact, I had a guy that came in, and he had super high levels of a heavy metal called bismuth, and never seen it before. I mean, I'd seen tiny bits of bismuth, but this guy had a lot of bismuth. And so we kind of went through the list, like, where could I get this from? That question I get literally almost every time I talk to someone about heavy metals. And because one of the active ingredient in Pepto-Bismol is bismuth. And he said, oh, wow. He goes, I used to buy a large bottle of that and carry it around with me. He goes, it would last me about 3 days. And he goes, I did this for years because I had such a bad stomach problem. And so this guy accumulated all this bismuth in his body. But the point of all of this is, I think it's good that Flint, Michigan was not swept under the rug. It's horrible that it happened, but I'm glad that it's brought some attention. I really hope that there's a lot of people out there that are going to do exactly what we're doing right now and educate people and understand, okay, yeah, it's bad that lead is in the water, but really, what does that mean to us? And what it means to us is babies that are born with birth defects. It means, people getting Alzheimer's disease far earlier than they would have, or maybe would have never gotten it at all. It means people living with depression. Depression is huge when it's associated with lead. It means, people, IQs, like I said, remember in the beginning of the show, I said that 17 micrograms of lead is all it takes to lower your IQ by 10 points. I did the math, and I tried to put this in because I can't wrap my mind around what 17 micrograms look like because it's so small. Yeah. If you take a dime, which everyone knows what a dime is and how small it is and it weighs almost nothing, if you take a dime and you divide it up into 149,000 equal pieces, one of those pieces is 17 micrograms.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, wow. It's still something I still can't wrap my mind around, but it makes it a lot more, I guess I can at least kind of go, wow, it makes me realize how tiny amount that is. And that's all it takes. So imagine what that water is doing to these children. But it's, that are living in the town. It's doing it to the adults also, but it's certainly, these are children whose brains are developing. And now they're developing with lead inside of them. And so imagine what that's going to do long-term effect to these kids, but the adults as well. I obviously, have a heart for kids just like anybody else, but the fact is this is harming.
Well, you know what it brings to mind, and it's probably not accurate, but you see these science fiction movies about these human mutants that are out there, and you think in terms of, gee, if these kids are in gestation with this lead running through their systems, are we in the future creating an evolution of mutant humans?
I would say that theoretically that's actually possible because of the effect that it has on your epigenetic structure. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it can change. Look at kids nowadays. You get these girls that they're 10 years old and they're huge and they're going through puberty. And I don't mean huge like fat. I mean like tall. They're like they're growing faster than they used to. And boys too. Boys are actually it's funny, it affects girls. They're actually growing. Boys, when you get lead in utero, what it actually does is it affects their everything from their testicular growth to their hormone production, and all. It actually demasculates boys. Or women, for some reason, it ramps up their endocrine, not their endocrine system, but it ramps up their hormone production, and actually it happens sooner. Because it messes with the endocrine system, they go through puberty sooner. But for boys, it actually delays things. And there are boys who are born, like I said, their genitals are smaller, their brains aren't as developed. That's with both sexes. So there's a lot of issues that go on with lead. Lead is very scary stuff. Yes. And the fact that anyone at any level of the government let this continue for as long as they did, it is absolutely criminal. And I think that's where, when we started the show, what I really would like to have seen was, instead of everybody pointing fingers and saying the governor this and the EPA this and the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality did that, and let's just stop and go, this is a town full of people who are going to be very, very sick. Yeah. If we don't do something right now. And what we need to do first is give them clean water. And then we need to go, okay, how do we address their health issues? Because if they don't already have them, they're going to have health issues.
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. When I was in private practice, one of the things that I learned when I was with the Revlon Corporation is that you've got to get past the guilty party. You've got to get past the blame party. So as an executive, I always said, you know what? Everything that happens here is ultimately my fault. So now that we know whose fault it is, let's work on a solution. Let's forget about blame.
Right, and I couldn't agree with you more. And that's, I think, why this has bothered me so much. Is this ultimately ends with, and I'm not picking on Obama. If Bush or Reagan was president, I don't care. It ends with the presidential administration is where it ends. That's the ultimate blame. The EPA is just as much to blame as the governor or the previous mayor or whoever else tried to street this. The EPA knew about this, and they kept kind of prodding, Michigan to do something about it, and it wasn't getting done. And instead of going, okay, look, here's the deal: you either fix this, or we're going to come in with a hammer and we're going to fix it ourselves. They just didn't do that. I think they should have that authority to do it, and if they don't, then we have a very, very flawed system.
And you know what? And I think you ought to have the integrity of not making it a racially motivated incident. The politics of that stink.
Yeah, I understand. Clinton, go for it, attack, Governor Snyder. He's a Republican. That's cool. That's what you guys do. I get it, because if it was a Republican, if it was a Democratic governor, the Republicans would have been attacking him. I'm sure that's fine. But to make this a race baiting issue is just, we have enough racial tension in our country as it is. We don't need something like this to further, because I find it hard to believe that someone went, oh, who cares? Just because it's, I think that it's a pretty even split. It's about 50-50 black and white in that town. It's definitely a higher percentage of blacks than the average for the state of Michigan. Mm-hmm. But still, I can't say, I find it hard to believe that someone was, especially, whoever the mayor was, and I can't imagine that someone said, oh, let's not worry about it because it's black kids. Yeah. If it was rich kids, I don't think the government actually different, because like she said, well, this was a bunch of rich white kids. Well, the reason why it would get done is because it was a bunch of rich, period, any color kids. Yeah. The parents would have stood up and made something happen. People with money make things happen. It doesn't matter what color you are.
That's right.
That's right. And so if it was rich black kids, it would have gotten fixed, because rich people fix things. That's just what they do. It's in their DNA. It's why they're rich, because they find a solution. And so, yeah, for her to turn this into a racial issue, I thought was just a terrible thing for her to do. And I had no respect for her to begin with. But this just adds on to that. But the thing is, we could go in. Like I said, chelation therapy is available. It's something that can be done at home. It's something that can be done on their own schedule. It takes time. These people have been poisoned now for, sounds like, about a couple of years. And so it's going to take, when I run someone through a heavy metals protocol, I sit down and go, well, this will take, anywhere from a year to 3 years to complete. They always looking like, wow, that really, it takes that long. I'm like, yeah.
So Sean, do they besides the capacity to learn and think and use common sense, do they experience any physical discomfort from this?
I don't know. No, it's not really. There are some people who will get maybe some there is some blistering that can happen from that. I think that's more from mercury. There are some physical symptoms. People will get maybe their eyelids will actually kind of like burn a little bit. They almost get painful tears. I'm trying to think of some of the more, because most of the symptoms I've ever dealt with were really more neurological symptoms, and there's no physical pain involved. But I have known people who get lesions after blisters, they'll get lesions on their skin. I actually had a woman and she was just this young, gorgeous woman. I mean, you look at her, you would never guess that she had all the health problems that she had. And when you chelate for heavy metals, sometimes it makes it worse in the beginning, because now you're pulling heavy metals out and they're passing through the tissue and they're creating this reaction. And so when we actually tested her for heavy metals, she got more lesions on her skin. Now, they heal up. It's not like, it's a permanent deal. Yeah. But she actually, her lesions got worse when we tested her, because we gave her the agent that pulls her out of her body, and which told me right away, that scared her so much that she didn't want to get treated for it anymore, which was unfortunate. But it told me right away. I didn't have to see her test results. I knew she was toxic with heavy metals, and she did. She had elevated levels, highly elevated levels of lead, mercury, nickel, and aluminum. Wow! And that was the worst. It was the worst heavy metal test I've ever seen in all the heavy metal tests I've ever run. And she was, I think, 25 or 26 years old. Normally, it bioaccumulates over time. So older people, that's why, we think of things like, dementia setting in as you get older. It's from the bioaccumulation of toxins in the body, heavy metals especially.
Okay, I need you to hold that thought, because we're overdue for a commercial break. Yeah. When we come back, are we going to continue this subject, or we got something new going on?
No, you know what? We got. I don't know. We can talk about something else.
No, I mean, no. I'm not trying to steer you away from it. I'm finding this interesting, and I'm thinking this is an inexhaustible subject.
It probably is, but I don't know. How much farther we can go. I got a really cool article here. We'll talk about autism. So we'll go there. That's related as well.
Sounds good. We'll be right back with our own Sean LaFave into Geared for Wellness Corner, and we're going to start talking about autism. So don't go away, folks.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:22 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 59 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, you live in Chicago. I can tell you that at 6:22 p.m. It's currently 17 degrees and mostly cloudy. But with that, you know what? We live in God's country where we have liquid sunshine. We're talking to our own Sean LaFave in his Geared for Wellness Corner. Hey, Sean, let's get past this liquid sunshine. Let's get past lead poisoning. Let's get into autism. I think that's an interesting subject.
You know, when I was in the Air Force on active duty, I was stationed up in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and when it was 17 degrees there, we would go outside and barbecue because that was a warm day. You know,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I literally, my coldest day that I ever saw, ambient, not a wind chill, ambient temperature was 41 degrees below zero.
You know what? I used to, when I worked for the Revlon Corporation, I was complaining just as I was getting ready to leave. And I said, you know what? All these years, Alaska has always been part of my responsibility. And yet I have never been to Alaska. And, because all of North America was under my purview. And they said, well, heck, you still got a week or a couple of weeks to go here. Why don't you just go? So, the week before Christmas, I found myself in Anchorage, Alaska, where the high was 30 below zero. It was so cold I thought my face was going to fall off. I couldn't sleep. I kept getting up, looking out, and it's still dark outside. And then I thought, and now I'm starving to death. So I go downstairs and I said, what on earth is going on? It's still dark outside. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. What time's the sun going to come up? This is all. The sun ought to get up about 11 o'clock, and it'll set about noon.
Yeah, I went there. I've been there a couple times in Alaska, and I always went there in the summertime. And the only thing about summertime in Alaska is the Alfred Hitchcock status of the mosquitoes there is off the chart, horrible.
Oh, you can actually, they have these new things they call these, they're not skateboards. What do you call those? These new ones?
Oh, those hoverboards.
Yeah, the hoverboards. You know what? You can actually hover better, higher, and move faster on the back of a mosquito in Alaska than you can anywhere else.
Oh, I tell you what, man, it was the most terrified I probably at that point in my life, the most terrified I'd been. My buddy and I were mountain biking through the woods, and where there was this tall grass around us, and we came to a fork in the trail that we were riding on, and we stopped to figure out which direction we wanted to go, and it was literally like something out of a horror movie. It was like just the air just disappeared, and all these mosquitoes just floated up out of the grass, and literally every piece of us that had skin was covered with mosquitoes. Yeah. We just were like, we didn't care where we were going at this point. We just wanted to ride fast enough for these things to get off of us. It was frightening. Anyway.
Well, I've been to Alaska 3 times, and I can tell you that when I say summer, we were there like late May, early June, and it was beautiful. But boy, when I was there in December, God help me, what a stupid decision that was.
Oh yeah, it's cold. Well,
I got to tell you one more story, because I had never been there before, and I heard about the glaciers. I wanted to go to see a glacier, so I drove up to Portage Glacier. Now, first of all, you have to understand, when I landed, I rented a car. I couldn't get the car to even warm up. It was just, It was unbelievable. So
in North Dakota, we had to plug our cars in overnight, or they wouldn't start in the morning. You literally plugged it into an outlet. That there was a heater built in that you plugged into your heater, your core of your engine, so it kept the engine warm overnight. Because if you didn't do that, your car would not start.
Oh yes. So I drive up the Portage Glacier, and I was just awestruck by this thing. And I get out of the car, and I'm bundled up, like an Eskimo, but I'm still freezing my butt off. And I'm listening to this roar. And the roar I'm hearing is this glacier still moving, just microscopically, cutting all that rock and all that stuff going down. And you can't see it moving, but you can hear it. And I was sitting, and I was kind of leaning against the hood of the car, with my backside. Well, my damn pants froze to the hood of the car. Yeah, it's true. And my guess is they're still there.
Yep.
So, now talking about autism.
Okay, so and actually, the segue from what we were just talking about to autism is actually a pretty smooth one, because, it's funny. I was at a New Year's Eve party this past New Year's Eve, and like I said, we were talking about Jenny McCarthy was MC or host or whatever you call her of the New Year's Eve party in New York, and I made a comment about her book, and one of the guys that was there is a pharmacist. I think he's either a pharmacist or just graduated and is getting his internship done or something like that. But anyways, a pharmacist, and so he was really curious, and I knew what his profession was beforehand, but it wouldn't have changed my answer anyway. I'm still going to tell him what I think. And he goes, I'm curious. He goes, what are your thoughts about autism? You know, what causes that, and you know, where it comes from? He goes, I'm really curious. And I said, you know, I think he even said, I'm in the healthcare profession. You know, what are your thoughts? And I said, you know what? I said, you know, obviously, you know, she points to the vaccination, the MMR vaccine, and I said there is a big causal effect there. I said, but I think it's just one of the many things that will trigger it. And I said, you know, it can come from that. It can come from the amalgam fillings, you know, that mom had when she was pregnant that got into the womb. It can come from the lead that mom had that got into the womb. It can come from glyphosate. I said it's a gut issue. You know, something's wrong with the gut. The microbiome is off. Maybe the baby was born with a C-section, so it didn't have the right microbiome in its gut. You know, and I said it's also a mitochondrial issue. It's an epigenetic issue. I got a lot of issues, but then something has to trigger it. And that last shot, you know, that NMR, whatever that toxic brew is of that shot specifically seems to be the one that triggers it the most. I said that finally is the final trigger. So some kids, it doesn't even have to take that much. You know, some kids are born, basically. I've talked to people that in fact, I just talked to a woman about a month and a half ago. She goes, I believe my daughter was born autistic. You know, she goes, she was always something that was a little off about her. It wasn't like, you know, she had a shot and then boom, 2 days later she was autistic. Mm-hmm. And so I talked about all these things, but one of the things I talked about was all these pesticides that we have. Well, I literally just found this article today, and I printed it out. I found it this morning, and the title is that half of all children will be autistic by 2025, warns a senior research scientist at MIT.
Wait a minute, did I hear that right?
Yeah, half of all kids will be autistic. And when we say autistic, you know, what they're talking about is on the autism spectrum. So it could be as severe as Rain Man, you know, fully autistic, where, you know, the person can no longer care for himself or herself. You know, there's no functioning available. You know, this person needs constant care. And then there's, you know, various levels. There are people who are autistic but are high functioning, and then you go into the Asperger's syndrome, which is on the autism spectrum.
Is this genetic?
There is a genetic proponent to it, but I don't think that it's really. I don't think most people would say this is a genetic thing. Now, it does tend to run in families, and my theory on that is not so much that it's, and that's where people tend to think that it's genetic. They haven't found like a gene type that they go, oh, if you got this gene type, then you're going to get autism. But what they're saying that they believe there's a genetic component is because people who have children who are autistic tend to have more than one child if they have multiple children at all. And so if you have a child who's autistic, it's a much higher likelihood that you'll have another one. But my personal belief on that is, again, goes back to mom having heavy metals in her body, being toxic, and that she passes that on to the baby, and the baby's born toxic. And so all it takes is a vaccine or some other exposure to trigger, you know, to finally kind of, you know, tip the scale, you know, to finally, like the analogy that we use a lot is, you know, you have this bucket, you know, and you've got a bucket and you can fill it up so much before it starts spilling over, and that vaccine was the last, you know, plop into the bucket that caused everything to spill everywhere. And now you've got an autistic child. But this and another thing that lends itself to that is actually in this article, and her name is Stephanie Seneff. She's a PhD research biologist at MIT. For over 30 years, she's been researching all of this stuff, everything from you know, Alzheimer's and autism, cardiovascular disease, all kinds of things. And she's written over 170 peer-reviewed articles and on and on. So this is a woman who's super intelligent. She knows her stuff. She's been steeped in it. She researched it, and they were at a conference talking about GMOs, and that was the thing that she said. She goes, at today's rate, by 2025, 1 in 2 children will be autistic, you know, at the rate we're going if we don't do something about it. And she's putting a lot of the blame on glyphosate, which I totally agree with her. You know, that we've been so focused on, you know, trying to prove that vaccines cause autism, that it's really created this massive smokescreen against the fact that autism is caused by a lot more than just vaccines. That's one thing that can trigger it, but there's a lot of other things that can trigger it. And they said in here.
So stop for just a second, because are you saying that in our makeup, in our DNA makeup, that autism gene is sitting in there somewhere, and there are a lot of things that may or may not trigger it. That we all have it. The gene that starts autism, but right now most of us are not having that triggered, and vaccines may be one of the things that trigger that gene but you're saying there's something else that probably is a bigger culprit to triggering that gene.
Yeah, you look at really, why has this progressed so much since when the movie, you remember the movie Rain Man when that came out?
Yes.
That was 1987. That was the year I graduated high school.
Yes,
In 1987, nobody knew what autism was. Not nobody, but the vast majority of people who went and saw this movie didn't know what autism was before they saw Rain Man. I didn't know for sure. And now it's a common household name. Everyone knows what autism is. I'd be shocked if I met someone who didn't know what autism was. And it was around that time that it really started taking off. Well, you look at, all the things we've done. We've used more pesticides. We've got more, the vaccine schedule used to be, people talk about, well, I was vaccinated when I was a kid and I turned out perfectly normal. But yeah, you got like 13 shots, and the kids nowadays are getting like 62 or something ridiculous. It's like a huge number now.
Yeah, well, when you were young, you were lucky, and then all of a sudden, when all of these advancements, you've reduced your odds or increased your odds.
Right, exactly. And so now we've got more vaccines, we've got more pesticides. As a matter of fact, I talked about earlier was they say that if you have one child, you're more likely to have another child who has autism. And what this study found was that pregnant women living near farms where pesticides are applied have a 60% increased risk of children having autism spectrum disorder. And so, it's like people think, oh, California, Los Angeles, smog. It's actually, the damage done to people in the Midwest from all the glyphosate, it's horrible, the damage it's doing.
Okay, so explain glyphosate. What the hell is glyphosate?
Oh, Roundup weed killer is glyphosate.
Okay.
That's the primary, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I keep forgetting that not everybody. So when you hear glyphosate, it's Roundup. It's the stuff that when we talk about GMOs, the reason why they genetically modify a lot of these foods. So there's some that they do for other reasons, but primarily when they genetically modify a food, it's so that it can withstand being sprayed by certain pesticides, and glyphosate is the number one because it is owned by Monsanto, and Monsanto owns a lot of GMO patents. They can go out and they can spray their corn, or they can spray their soy, and they can spray it heavily. That was the thought process was, we wouldn't need to use as much, but now we're using more because it doesn't kill the crop, it just kills the weeds around it. And so that's the problem with it, is so the stuff's being heavily sprayed, and so people who live in these areas, they're being exposed to it. And when a woman is pregnant, she now has a 60% increased risk of having a child with somewhere on the autism spectrum. And I even did, in fact, just recently, I think it was like this month or last month, the USDA, Department of Agriculture, did a study. This is really funny.
You got to make it funny in the next 15 seconds.
All right. Well, point is, they studied samples of foods, and all of them had detectable levels of pesticides, but not of concern. The one chemical they did not test for was glyphosate. Go figure. Owned by Monsanto.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's the most heavily used one, and it's the one they didn't test for. So when we talk about people like the EPA and lead and water and the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they don't have our back. They've got big corporations' backs.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so the point of all this is, you've got to educate yourself and understand that you're going to be exposed to toxins everywhere in this world. Learn how to get them out of your body.
It's all about money. Hey, listen, my friend, what are we going to talk about on Thursday?
I don't know. I haven't prepared for Thursday.
All right. You know what? I'll let you prepare, and I'll prepare. And we may have to. We might just have to solve some of the world's problems.
We can do that. We can do that. You always come up with good questions. You have some questions ready for me. You surprise me, and I'll roll with it.
You got it. We'll do a double roll.
All right.
All right, my friend. Have a great week. Have a great evening. Stay safe. Stay happy. Make everybody in your life better because they know you, will you?
Same to you. Thanks, brother.
All right, buddy. Now, the rest of you folks, stay tuned. We're going to have the birthdays for the day, the secret daily teaching for your life, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless facts. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:41 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 59 degrees and raining outside. Do you believe it? Well, it's on its way down to 51 degrees. But you know what? If you live in Paris, France, it's currently 1:41 a.m. tomorrow, and it's 32 degrees outside. That's cool. I think I'd stick it right here at 59 degrees and a little wet. We're calling it liquid sunshine. But you know what? It's time for the Harvard business tip of the day. And the management tip today is set a timer when making a tough decision. We spend a lot of time and energy each day making choices, some minor and some serious, but it's impossible to handle decisions of all kinds more efficiently. One strategy is to use a timer for the most difficult and unpredictable decisions. Some decisions are so complicated that you may never come to a conclusion that feels exactly right. So set a specific amount of time, and when time's up, make sure your best choice and move forward. It helps you if you can make the decision smaller with minimal investment to test it. But if you can't, then just make the decision. The time you save by not deliberating pointlessly will pay massive dividends in productivity. You'll be glad you did it that way. This is just business 101, folks. This is good stuff. Well, you know what? It's time for the secret daily teaching for your life. You've heard me talk about it every day. It's all about a positive mental attitude. You do actually control everything that goes on in your life. You decide if you're going to be happy or sad, if you're going to be tired. Oh, you're not going to decide if you're tired, but you are going to decide if you're going to be successful or a failure. It's all about a positive mental attitude. So the secret for today is when you feel bad about yourself, it feels as though you are sucking the life out of you because all of your good on every single subject, including health, wealth, and love, is on the frequency of joy and feeling good. Now, the feeling of having unlimited energy and that amazing feeling of health and wellness are all on the frequency of feeling good. When you don't feel good about you, you are on a frequency that is attracting more people, situations, and circumstances that will continue to make you feel bad about you. It's all about a positive mental attitude. I'm telling you, folks, it's true and it works. Now, you know what today is? Sure you do. It's Tuesday and it's January the 19th and it's somebody's birthday. And you know what? This man is somebody we all know. He was born in 1809. He's actually a favorite of my grandson, Joey. He was born in 1809, died in 1849, a writer of short stories and considered the inventor of the detective fiction genre. Happy birthday, Edgar Allan Poe. And here's a lady we all know about, born in 1946. Country music singer, songwriter, author, actress, and philanthropist. Happy birthday, Dolly Parton. And then finally, born in 1943, passed away in 1970, a singer, songwriter, and arranger of psychedelic rock and blues. Yep. Happy birthday, Janis Joplin. Well, you want to know what happened on January the 19th in history? I can tell you in 1935, Coopers Incorporated sells the world's first briefs. Yeah. That's it. You know what we're talking about. Sure you do. And in 1937, Howard Hughes sets a new air record by flying from Los Angeles, California to New York City in 7 hours, 28 minutes, and 25 seconds. Can you imagine? 1937? Not that long ago, if you think about it. How about in 1983, the very first commercial personal computer from Apple Incorporated to have a graphical user interface and a computer mouse is announced. That was the beginning. Yep. 1983. That's when things really began to happen. Well, you know what? It's Edgar Allan Poe's birthday, so I think it's only fitting that the saying for today, the thought for today comes from Edgar Allan Poe, and he says, I believe in sane with long intervals of horrible sanity. Yeah, that would be him, I'm thinking. Sure it would. Well, you know what? We've come to the crossroads, and it's time for us to do those interesting but useless facts. And you know what? Let's start off with, did you know that the Hawaiian alphabet has 12 letters? You know, ours has 26. The Hawaiian alphabet has 12. And 60 years ago, Otto Hahn discovered nuclear fission by splitting uranium. And then you know what was invented? Teflon. Yeah, that's what came from that. Well, you know, each king in a deck of playing cards represents a great king from history. The spades was King David, the clubs, Alexander the Great, the hearts, Charlemagne, and the diamonds, Julius Caesar. You know what? My grandson Joey would love that too. How about this? Did you know that Bette Midler, Barry Manilow, and many other famous vocalists got their start in a New York City club called the Continental Baths? Yeah, the Bath Club. Yep, they talk about it. And how about this? All of the stars comprising the Milky Way galaxy revolve around the center of the galaxy once every 200 million years or so. Man, is that something? Yeah. Did you know The metal part of the end of a pencil is 20% sulfur? Yeah, and it's graphite. How about this? Did you know that Lafayette was a major general in the United States at the age of 19? Lafayette's whole name takes up an entire line on a page. It's Marie Joseph Paul Yves Roch Gilbert du Motier Marquis de Lafayette. Yeah, now there's a moniker for you. Now, do not go away. Because when we come back, I'm going to answer your emails. And my first one comes from Miles Johnson from Grisham, Oregon. He's going to talk about the tax treatment of gold. I'll tell you all about that after these brief messages. Do not go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. You know what? We're coming down to the wire. Time for me to answer your emails. I want to remind you that this is an entertainment part of the show and that we do our best to give you a comprehensive answer to your questions, but we always encourage you to contact a licensed professional. They're always going to save you more money than they cost you. And you know what? If they make a mistake, they pay the piper, not you. And that's the way you got to do these things. They're required to have errors and omissions insurance. That's the same thing as as malpractice insurance, but that does mean if they make a mistake, they pay, not you. That makes it worthwhile, doesn't it? Sure it does. Well, first email today comes from Miles Johnson from Grisham, Oregon, asking about a tax treatment of gold, and writes, I want to buy gold as a safe investment, but I've been told that it doesn't qualify for capital gains tax treatment. Is this true? Well, you know what, Miles? Gold bullion is a collectible upon which the top long-term capital gains tax rate is 28% instead of the normal 15%. Now, the same tax rate applies to gold coins and exchangeable traded funds, a form of tradable security that track the price of gold. Now, you can still profit from gold at the 15% long-term capital gains tax rate by investing in gold mining companies or in mutual funds that specialize in holding the stock of such companies. Capital gains realized on their shares is taxed like that on any other corporate shares, but their share prices are highly correlated with the price of gold. So, you know, you get both the benefits there. So if that's when you want to do it, that's the way to do it. And my next email comes from Sophia Rivas from Cortland, New York, asking about gifts of tuition, and says, my grandson's about to go to college where the annual tuition is well over $12,000. If I pay it for him, will I be making a taxable gift? Well, you know what, Sophia? No, not if you make the payment directly to the college. You know, generally, gifts exceeding the annual gift tax exemption amount of $13,000 per year per giver to any one recipient must be reported by a giver on the gift tax return. But payments made on behalf of an individual directly to an educational or medical institution are not deemed to be gifts to the individual and are tax exempt. In fact, you can make them in any amount on behalf of the individual and still give that individual another $13,000 tax-free. So write that tuition check or payment check directly to the college instead of giving the money to your grandchild. You know, and the other thing is you can also not only pay the tuition, but you can if you got the money, give the kid some money too. Why not? How about this? Next email from Emmerich Brock from Cold Necks, New Jersey, asking about posthumous income, and says, my mother died and I prepared a joint return for that year that her husband signed for their taxes. Then for the next year, I received a 1099 for my mother reporting several $1,000s of income to her. Now her husband filed a single return for that year. So how do I report this? Well, here's the deal, Emmerich. If the income was from a bank or investment account that her husband or another person inherited through a joint ownership or an account beneficiary designation, that person is going to owe the tax on it. Now, if the income was paid to your mother's estate and then distributed by will or state law, then consult an executor or administrator of the estate. Ask the issuer of the 1099 to, in the future, send 1099s that name the proper recipient. And then the whole issue is moot at that point. And my last email today comes from Jeremy Chang from Oceanside, California, asking about inherited property basis, and says, inherited property gets stepped up basis equal to its market value when it is appreciated in value. But if it has fallen in value, does it get stepped down basis? Now, Jeremy, yes. When the owner of property dies, the property's basis, its cost for tax purposes, from which gain or loss on its sale is determined, becomes its market value at the owner's death. Now, if the property has appreciated in value, the basis is stepped up to its appreciated market value, and the taxable gain on appreciation to that date is eliminated. But if the property has fallen in value, basis is correspondingly reduced, and the deductible capital loss is eliminated. So there's a strategy for this. Hold appreciated property until death to bequeath that to your heirs. Sell lost property before death to get a deductible capital loss. That's really what you want to be doing when you're doing these things. Now, I want to remind everybody that we'd like you to get our app. We have an app for Apple products, and we have an app for Android and Windows products. Go to the Apple Store. Just search Robert Cardoza Live. The app is absolutely free, and it'll allow you to listen to our show live. You can chat with us during the program, or you can also listen to all of our archive programs. If you've got a Windows or a Android product, then simply go to GooglePlay.com. Search again, Robert Cardoza Live. The app is right there. Download it. It's absolutely free, costs you nothing, and we'll appreciate it. And tell your friends about it. I'd appreciate you doing that as well. Now, on my next show, I'm going to present tax tips that are going to be useful for you. We're going to be doing that every Wednesday now through tax season. And then in addition to that, we're going to have our own Joel Saltzman, Dr. Wireless, with us. He'll be talking about cell phone technology. So please tell all of your friends about my show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.